What's happening, y'all? Welcome back to Rip the Net. We are back bringing you sports and culture. My name is Eric,
I'm Dre.
I'm Alexi.
and we're excited to be with y'all. Happy Valentine's Day for those who celebrate.
Man, we passed that. We move on, man. nah.
Clearly, ain't nobody is celebrated. But how y'all doing besides that?
I'm doing great. Aside from that, Dre?
Yeah, honestly, just didn't even notice it happened. So it's no different from you. Just another day.
Yeah, it came and went as it should. Word. Okay. Cool, man. Not gonna lie, y'all. This weekend, I thought I had high hopes for it, and it's gonna be our first topic. It was All-Star Weekend. I was a little bit excited to just kick back, have a relaxing weekend, have a few things to look forward to. I don't know why, man. All-Star Weekend is always this thing that I kind of convince myself to get excited for, and then it comes and it goes, and I have feelings, but not good ones. So, did any of y'all tune into any of the events? Maybe come across any clips on social media? What were your levels of engagement this past weekend with it?
Yeah, for me, it was in and out. Honestly, the last few years, my interest in it has been dwindling rapidly, and this year I was I know we've spoken about it a bit in a previous episode, leading up to it and talking about how the format was going to change for the Sunday night game. But even then, I still wasn't really that excited for it. So I only checked out things here and there. I was watching clips mainly because on my sub feed on YouTube, ESPN, NBA, everything was just spamming clips, shorts and stuff. So I saw a ton of different clips from each night, except for really 3-point. I didn't really see anything from 3-point, but yeah, I was trying to tune in here and there. And then the Sunday night I was watching, and I just I was just so bored that I just turned it off. I didn't even finish the whole thing. I saw the clips afterward, certain different events and stuff that happened.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. How about you, Alexi?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't see much other than the dunk contest and a sneaker content creator, literally one. So for some reason my feed just didn't show me any all-star content. I feel like this was the quietest year from a more casual perspective. Nothing really notable happened, no headlines. Even though it's obviously all the stars, I didn't see anything that crazy or exciting about it.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I think I was actually doing some reflecting, and also just it's a combination of seeing what was on my feed. Usually around All-Star Weekend, you get all those, at least from the pages I follow, the nostalgic posts, All-Star Weekend 2016, All-Star Weekend 2014, a lot of which I could look back on and just remember myself watching. So it's interesting, and I realized that what defines an All-Star Weekend are the moments, and man, I feel like we've just been robbed of those moments over the past few years. I think this weekend had a couple, but there was nothing that I think stood out. There was literally a three-peat. For the first time ever, somebody won their third straight. Mac McClung won his third straight dunk contest, and I feel like nobody cares, and as they should. He's in the G League. He's, with all due respect, not a start. He's not a. I was gonna say he's not a starting caliber player. He's not even a reserve on an NBA team. He hasn't made a roster. He's in the G League, and he's been the highlight of. I don't want to take away from his dunking ability and his talent. He's been the highlight of the dunk contest over the past 3 years. He's done a great job of kind of carrying it and carrying the torch, but man, he had no help. But before we get into the specifics, I just wanted to do a quick rundown. Friday, there was the Rising Stars Challenge, as well as the Celebrity All-Star Game. What I will say about the Celebrity Game, man, when you compare it to other sports, I feel like the NBA could do a lot more in bringing in just high quality names. I was having a conversation with some friends, and the MLB does a good job of bringing in, whether it's like they know their audience, right? So they'll bring in like reggaeton artists, like Latin pop artists. They'll bring in people that they know will get like their key audience, or like their biggest audiences, just in tune, and get them to tune in. Like you even get like I feel like JoJo Siwa, like the big, just like influencers. It's obviously a few years back when she was like a little bit more poppin'. But I think the MLB does a good job of just like catering to their audience, right? And the NBA, man, we got Kai Cenat, we got Drewski, and that was pretty much it. We got Chris Brickley. So like if you're like a diehard NBA fan, you know that he's like, or you know that he's an NBA trainer. Like he trains the pros and the best players. But besides that, like I feel like, yeah, you had some WNBA presence, you had some retired NBA players, but there was nothing that really stood out. And I think back to when I was a kid, Kevin Hart being like the MVP and just like showing out. And back then, Kevin Hart was like the superstar of Hollywood. He got all these movies, all these comedy specials coming out. So he was on top of the world. So it was the right moment to have him at All-Star Weekend. And I don't know, man. I like, yes, it was great to have Kai and Drewski there, but besides that, I felt like it fell flat. So do y'all have any thoughts on the celebrity game, or any memories, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same thing I'll echo. Like, I only saw Kai and Drewski. No one else I recognized. And again, even on my socials, I saw more clips from like Drewski's new dating show or whatever than I did from All-Star. So
yeah,
it just, there was no big names for me personally. No one I follow, no one I care to see play. So a little disappointing in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I just looked it up just to even see who were on these teams, and like I don't even recognize these names. Like, it's actually
Dude, it
crazy.
said an actor from Halo. Like, why the hell do you got an actor from that bum ass show on the celebrity team? Like, it doesn't make sense.
They're scraping the barrel for these names. Like, obviously they have Drewski and Kai at the top, and then literally the names right below them I don't even recognize. Shabuzi, I've heard that name, but like I've never listened to his music. And Noah Kahan, I just don't know these people. Like, I know the coaches because those are like famous athletes and stuff, but yeah, these teams are just like, what is this? But I remember they used to have like, yeah, like you said, Kevin Hart, Justin Bieber, like people on this level. Like, that's a crazy high standard.
Who is Shelby McEwen, bro? Like, who is
like,
that?
What is this, bro? AP Dillon, like Bailey, I heard of because WWE, but like even as an NBA fan, like that's not doing nothing for me. Like, Bailey playing in the game is not doing anything for me. Like, to be honest, like this is actually a crazy list of names. You could have just told me these were just random people that picked up off the street, and I would have believed you. This is terrible.
Honestly, oh man, it's like they spent all their money on Kai and Drewski, and then the rest of them, they were just like running around looking for people to add on to the game. And I mentioned the MLB All-Star game, but even like, I know this isn't All-Star or like the Pro Bowl weekend for the NFL, but I just think back to a few weeks ago when Kai and Speed had their little celebrity football, like flag football game before the Super Bowl, and they had big names that came in and showed out. Obviously, I have no idea what went into the funding, what went into the whole planning process, but they had artists, they had streamers, they had influencers, like Mark Phillips was there, Blackboy Max was there, then you had like Quavo, Lotto, so you had like Duke Dennis in there, like you had Cole Bennett, all these big names. Angel Reese was there, like like you had people, these names that people will hear and like get curious and like want to tune in. Not to mention Kai and Speed, like the two biggest streamers currently, are the ones that were in charge of the whole thing, or presented as like the main two captains of their teams. Like, it's so sad to see a league like the NBA where it's very clear that they have the resources to do so. You have these star athletes on these ridiculous contracts. Like, I know you have the budget, but you just don't seem to place priority. And this is just a celebrity game, right? Ideally, this is Friday. You're just warming up the weekend. It shouldn't be like this big thing. But the fact that even that doesn't, like, the celebrity game should at least try to bring in the casual fan. And I don't think it does that. There's a very small market that tunes in for it, I feel like. And it's a little bit upsetting.
Yeah, it's honestly like, I just want to bring a comparison of something that happened this same weekend, which is a charity soccer game that happened out in Qatar, and obviously that's different funding and stuff like that. But
yeah,
that was called the Match for Hope 2025. Yeah, Speed was also out there. Speed was the co-captain. Phantom was there. KSI was a co-captain.
Thierry Henry
out there. And then they have legends like you say, Thierry Henry. They have Iniesta, David Silva. They have a lot of members of the Sidemen. They have, like, it's crazy the disparity, and obviously it's a different concept. But like, people like,
it's not that different though. It's not that different. You're bringing big names together for a game. You know, no matter the cause, no matter the setting, like, pro players are not. That's the general concept, and they had a real audience in mind setting up that charity match. All-Star, they don't know who their audience is, clearly.
Yeah, and maybe they have to commit to. I'm seeing on this All-Star list they have like Matt Barnes and Baron Davis. Like, no disrespect to them, but even in their primes, they're not like the top players. So like, to bring these people back, that's not doing anything really. Like, maybe they have the All-Star game or celebrity game has to start incorporating like past legends to try to get that kind of same feeling, just mixed in with the teams. But this is like, calling this All-Star celebrity game is disrespectful. These are not stars, bro. Like, I don't know these names. These are not stars. Like, this is actually crazy.
Yeah. So that being said, do y'all have names of individuals who y'all would like to see at the celebrity game? Like, if you could give me 3 to 5 names of people that you would like to see at the game that you would tune in, and realistically,
literally, right? Those other matches we talked about, people from those. It's not that's the crazy thing, bro. It's not even hard to find these names. Literally, just go on your phone, go on TikTok for 5 minutes, go on Twitter, like, you'll see these people come up. And the NBA just, whoever's leading this, did not do that.
Yeah. And, well, Dre, do you have any names or any ideas?
I think the only tough part is I'm assuming some of these people are declining. That's my only guess. To have like a list of this quality is that you have, like, you're reaching out potentially to some people that aren't interested anymore. That would have been interested like 10 years ago. But yeah, for me, I think it's definitely tapping into, even if it's, like, I know they did something with like Stephen A. and Michael Wilbon as coaches a few years ago, but even getting like some of those sports like analyst names playing, I know they're older generally, but yeah, I think the former players too is like the route to go. Because I'm guessing the celebrities are just declining this.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm even thinking like Shannon Sharp, man. That man's in shape. That man can run for
That'd be funny.
minutes. Like,
dude, that would be funny as hell. I would watch that.
Yeah.
Get Ocho out there. Ocho was talking about
get them both, or even better, make them both like the two opposing coaches or something. Team captains, yeah. That'd be crazy.
Right. I like Ocho, man. Ocho's always talking smack about. I think I remember this clip of him in the shop, which is LeBron's like little podcast type show, and he was talking about how he felt like he had a chance against NBA players. So putting him on that stage at least like gives him the chance to show out. So Ocho, I think, would turn some heads. I'm even thinking, man, like even like the man, I'm trying to find the right word or the right way to describe these people, but like those who didn't make it but are still popular, like Julian Newman, the LiAngelo Balls. Jello was the performer on Saturday night. Like, I remember last year they had Burna Boy, and this year we had Jello, which, like, no disrespect to Jello, I'm a big fan of the Ball family, but it literally reminds me of our our high school assemblies when they would invite like the parents of the students to come and speak, where it was just like, man, like that was just like an easy grab, and you clearly, I don't know, didn't really
I
want to do your homework and finding a better like guest. You know what I mean?
I think given how viral he's been recently, it makes sense. I'm not saying it's like an objectively good pick, but I feel like that makes more sense than like those celebrity teams, you know?
Honestly, I think it's yeah. I was just gonna say I think it's like Jello being the pick is like just an example of the decline of everything in general. I think that just
Yeah.
is just a good microcosm of that, because like we're just gonna go with the super quick viral potential one hit wonder who's just related to the NBA in some way. We can have Lonzo introduce him and just throw him in there, and then see if we can get our quick moment. Like we're bringing in Kai and Drisky, and this is all kind of related in terms of like the NBA is just scrambling, I think.
Whereas I think this is completely different, but if y'all saw for Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, they had that meticulously planned with celebrities showing up from old to new, incorporating them in skits, having them in the audience, and then they even had Lil Wayne perform. Like, how is SNL having a better performer than All Star? That's a bit crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, man, it's hard, man. And there's people out there, who are not gonna break the bank. Like, I just don't understand why you don't give it a little bit more thought. Like, the reason why I was kind of pointing towards like the Jellos, the Julian Newmans, people who have or just any basketball content creator. Like, you had Chris Brickley there. Why not bring in Lethal Shooter? Like, you have people who have the ability to play basketball. It's a very popular sport. You're going to find people who are talented. And you have people who have the popularity and have the ability who can put on a good show. So it's just, it's confusing. It's frustrating. It feels lazy. And I think that's the biggest theme of this entire weekend. Everything just feels lazy. Feels like there wasn't much planning that went into it as far as thinking about the product that was going to come out of it.
Yeah, and I think I just figured it out. One more thing about the celebrity game, I think I just figured it out, is the NBA is stuck in the whole traditional celebrity route. I think that's what it is. Like, I'm sure these people are big in their fields to some extent. And I think 10 years ago, like the names we're throwing out there, like Kevin Hart, Justin Bieber, are like those traditional celebrities. But just back then, that mattered a lot more. Versus like in 2025, the traditional celebrities, like actors and artists that aren't like the top artists who are not going to play in this usually, like those people aren't really that known by the audience that's going to watch this game. And I think something like the Match for Hope and something like even the NFL one you talked about for the leading up to the Super Bowl, they have figured out, okay, we need to lean into the new age celebrity type, which is the content creator, the streamers, that kind of thing, and mix in former players like they had Mike Vick and Cam Newton, or just like how the Match for Hope have all these former players. I think that's the formula that works, is having like a team of just content creators versus content creators and mix in former players. That, because then you have the people actually playing, making content around it, around the event, versus like these random celebrities, no offense to them, but like I doubt they're making a video about, oh, I'm gonna go play at this game. And even if they are, who's watching that? Like, no one really follows the actors like that, if that makes sense. So I think honestly, they're gonna have any chance of reviving it. That's the path. And I'm sure the streamers, because they grew up watching the NBA like we did, most of them, they're gonna be, okay, I would love to go play at that, versus like these traditional celebrities who are gonna turn it down. So I think that's the only path forward.
100%. 100%. Yeah, that's a really good point. But we'll see, man. We'll see how much if anything, changes, because it's gotten frustrating, and that's just the first part of the weekend. Rising Stars, I actually think it's a good concept. I have nothing bad to say about it. It's just, a lot of the names. I think that's more for like the hardcore fans who know the rookies, who know the new players, and just want to see them show out. A key moment I can remember from a few years back is when Kyrie Irving broke, I think it was Brandon Knight's ankles, and I still see that clip to this day. You know, he kind of does like a little crossover and shoots the jumper over him, and that was a moment, right? And that moment has continued to resurface. I didn't really see anything like that this year. And then we got Saturday, which was the skills challenge, the dunk contest, and the 3-point shootout, or the 3-point challenge. What I will say about the skills challenge, I'm not sure if y'all saw, but Wemby and CP3 got disqualified because they're basically trying to cheat the system. Like, they weren't shooting real 3-pointers or real free throws in an attempt to get a quicker time to complete the whole obstacle course, or the whole the whole skills course, if that's what you want to call it. So that was a little frustrating because you got players who aren't even taking it serious anymore. It was won by the Cavs, I guess, whatever. But then the 3-point challenge, I don't really have anything bad to say on that. Tyler Hero won, so, like, you know, props to him. Jalen Brunson put up a stinker, as did Damian Lillard. You had Norman Powell, you had Buddy Hield, I think they had solid names in there. Obviously, sucks to not see Clay or Curry in there, but they've also been in that contest a number of times, so I can understand why they would decline something like that if that's what ended up happening. At the end of the day, we got Damian Lillard, who's still a one of the top 3-point shooters of all time, so I'm not mad at that. But what I do want to get to is the dunk contest. So I did mention earlier, Mac McClung won the whole thing, and like I said, I thought he had solid dunks throughout the course of the night, but my frustration was with the other contestants. You had Stephon Castle of the San Antonio Spurs, you had Andre Jackson Jr., and then you had Matas Bucelis from the Chicago Bulls, as well as Mac McClung. And man, every other dunker besides Mac McClung, I think, just did not show up. Matas had a very bad showing where I think his first dunk he didn't make at all, and then, you know, had a pretty mediocre dunk after that, as did Jackson Jr. They were just not, I just didn't really see any creativity, any spark. And then Stephon Castle, I just felt like he was doing a lot of pregame dunks throughout the course of the contest. He did have like a cool dunk in the finals, but I felt like he had just been the least, I guess, like, embarrassment out of those three contestants, and that's how he punched his ticket to the finals. But I think from the start, it was very clear McClung was going to win. He had some solid moments. The jumping over the car, I know it's been done before by Blake Griffin, but I thought it was still cool. And he just showed off, like, his hops. And I think he had some solid moments. Were they the best dunks I've ever seen? Wouldn't say so. But, you know, I think that he still put on a show, and I think he clearly deserved to win. And I think in just about any other year would have been considered a very, very solid performance. So that being said, do y'all have any thoughts on the dunk contest? Anything to maybe improve it?
You caught me off guard. That being the end of your sentence. Yeah, I think, well, first of all, let me just touch on the skills challenge. Yeah, don't hate the players, man. Hate the game. They outsmarted the skills challenge, and people didn't like it. But that was actually clever. I'm not gonna lie. I think they should have saved it for the finals if they made it there.
They got DQ'd.
Yeah, they should have saved it if they didn't get DQ'd. I'm saying they should have saved it so they could have made it through the first round, not get DQ'd, and then pull it off in the final round. But I guess, yeah, people weren't having it. But I liked it a lot. You know, I'm a CP3 glazer. But yeah, the 3-point, don't care. And then the dunk contest, I just think the dunk contest is cooked. Like, you already have a player, like you said, who's not really in the NBA when three-peating it. So already, like, they've kind of given up on the actual stars trying and competing in this. And I think if you're gonna have Mac McClung in there, why not have the entire contest just be dudes of that level? Like, what's the point of even having these NBA players in it? 'Cause there's clearly no competition. I think Stephen A mentioned a few years ago that his idea, I don't know if it was actually his idea, but he just was mentioning on the show an idea to just have it be, bring out some of these like dunkers, like people who actually dunk. I don't know if they dunk for a living, but they dunk online, like social media dunkers who are really good, and have them compete and be sponsored. But then you have it as like everyone in the competition is a high level dunker. Then you can have NBA players sponsoring them, so it gets the players involved, it gets everyone involved, and then there's more excitement around just backing these dunkers, and there's no pressure on any players to be involved in it because it's already cooked from a player perspective. I don't think every year there's like this player's like, that was fun, like next year I might join, and then they never join. Like, it's just capped, like they're not joining, they're only getting older. So I think that's the only real way to save it, because obviously Mac McClung, he's doing his best to save it. Like, no disrespect for him, he's being put in a position and he's taking his opportunity. I'm not mad at that, but like after three-peating, what more really is there to do? Like, you're gonna come back and win it a fourth time? Like, it's really not, that's not that exciting anymore. And I think I heard on First Take too, they were saying like, well, maybe it was on Kanocho's show Nightcap, they were saying that he should request an appearance fee and be like, yeah, I'm not coming back to save this again. Like, you should just drop me $1 million off the top, and then you can also win the prize money if he wins it, because like they need him. He doesn't, like, I'm sure he needs it because he's not an actual NBA player, but like realistically they need him. This competition's cooked if he's not in it. And I doubt Levine's going to come back. I doubt Gordon's already, he's scorned over his losses. So really, what direction do you go in from here if it's not just doing all dunkers, not even NBA players? I think that's the only way forward.
For sure. I did see on Twitter, John Morant was posting, I think you sort of mentioned this a little bit, but like John Morant had mentioned something about potentially doing it next year. Giannis was in the conversation. Zach LaVine came out and said like him and Aaron Gordon should come back and make an appearance. And like you said, man, on paper, it sounds amazing. Like, if you told me that next year we had John Morant, we had Giannis, we had Zach LaVine, we had Aaron Gordon, I would be super excited. I would 100% be tuning in and be excited to watch. But man, like you said, I feel like it's just a lot of empty promises. And honestly, I think the NBA can just dig into their pockets, man. Provide a good little prize money that will entice the players. I know John Morant has said like if they put up $1 million, he would do it. Listen, man, if you really care about improving this whole thing, it's not going to be worth watching if your stars aren't playing. So we'll see what they do with that. It was an interesting development. The fan within me wants to be excited for that, but at the same time, I am a little bit like skeptical because, like you said, it just feels like empty promises at this point.
Yeah, and I think this all traces back to LeBron James. Like, I hate to throw him under the bus, but like, he made it. I'm not gonna say him specifically, like the only one, but like in terms of stars that we were anticipating being in it, I say we, like I was super young at the time, I wasn't caring like that, but in terms of like people were anticipating like a young star, that's usually when they do it, like in their first few years they'll participate in something like this, and people looking forward to LeBron James participating never did it, and now all these players who grew up watching LeBron are like, LeBron didn't do it, like I don't really need to do that either. Like, not that you ever need to do it, but like you're putting on for the fans. That's really what it's all about at the end of the day. And they're like, I don't really owe the fans this. So I'm just gonna keep, and then it's just gonna continue the cycle. Like, even Giannis, who participated in the past, like that was before Giannis was a star. And to be honest, he was terrible. So like even him coming back, I'm not that excited for that. I think maybe replace him with Mac McClung and have him go up against Gordon, Levine, and Ja. But yeah, or maybe even if you have 4 stars and then Max like fifth off to the side, like the winner of these has to face Mac for the title. Like,
Ooh.
make them earn it because Mac has put the thing on his back. So make them earn it. But yeah, other than that, like I just don't know where they go from here. And the thing is, the dunk contest used to be by far, like, okay, with the All-Star game, but even as the All-Star game was declining, having like those years with Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, like they were putting it, even Derrick Jones Jr., like they were putting it on their back the whole weekend. Like that used to be the most fun event. And then like that started declining too. And then 3-point had its moments with like the Splash Brothers and stuff. But now it's just like all of them are just kind of on the decline. So it's kind of rough.
Yeah, agreed. Time will tell. Finally, to just wrap up on the weekend, we did have the All-Star game on Sunday. You had Team Chuck, you had Team Kenny, Team Shaq, and Team Candace, which was the Rising Stars team. And listen, I'm not gonna lie, first matchup was Team Kenny versus Team Chuck, and I won't lie, that was a solid, like I was watching it and I was pretty entertained. I was actually pulling for Team Kenny. For some reason, I just wanted the young players to win. That was like the identity surrounding the team that he drafted was just a team full of young players. Team Chuck was like the international players, and then Team Shaq was like the OG players, so like the older stars, and they ended up winning the whole thing. But after that first game, well, there was the Rising Stars game, which Team Shaq won, as they should have. I would have been upset if they had lost to the Rising Stars. And then, which I will say, having the Rising Stars in the, like, people who are complaining about it, honestly, like, I don't understand. Well, I get why they're complaining, but the Stars are the ones that have been at fault, right? They're the ones that haven't been playing hard. They're the ones that don't play defense in the All-Star game. And so the idea of incorporating the younger players to potentially, you know, like encourage the superstars to just play hard and do their thing, I wasn't mad at that. So I didn't mind them being there. In the end, they lost their matchup, but I wasn't mad at that. The last game, though, that was painful to watch, and I'm not sure if that's when you turned it off, Dre, but no defense was being played. You had half-court shots from Curry, which was cool or whatever, but there just was no defense being played. And at the very end, it just became this like little circus show, and like it always is. Thankfully, we didn't get that the entire 2 hours, but it was still upsetting because it was just the same exact product that we've been getting these past few years. So do you have any thoughts on the All-Star game itself?
The All-Star game is cooked, bro. It's washed. Like, I just don't see this even lasting another 2 years at this rate. Like, what's the point of it? There's literally no point of it. Even like the Pro Bowl, similar concept, that's cooked. And you would say, like, okay, football, I kind of get that it was eventually going to come to this, especially with like it's a full contact sport and the safety precautions they've taken over the years. Obviously, players don't want to get injured. But basketball, like these guys are going harder over the summer, like just playing in these rec gyms with these same players, like these same top players are playing together over the summer. Like this is honestly just embarrassing. Like, especially for these top players who are getting voted in by fans, who some of them arguably, we already had this debate, we don't have to have it again, but arguably, in my opinion, shouldn't have been, say, quote unquote starters or even made it, but like this fan vote and this demand to see you out there, for you to play like this or just like not give any effort, it's just disrespectful, honestly. Like, I've seen Curry shoot half-court shots for 10 years. It's not exciting anymore. Like, this, I don't care that Curry made it from half-court. Bro does that in regular season games. Like, that's not that exciting for, like, that's not a reason for me to tune in to the All-Star game, personally. Like, I'm sure the biggest Curry fan. I'm sure, like, too, because it was in San Francisco. This was the Curry Glaze Fest. But, like, for me, what the hell is that, bro? Like, I don't care that Curry's doing that in however many years he's been in the league. We know. So just the whole concept. I appreciate at least that the NBA is trying, right? They're trying, and for the NBA, I mean the actual league administration, not the players, because the players don't care. The NBA is trying to find some way to work around these players who don't care and find a format that can be entertaining, like the first All-Star game post Kobe's death, where they actually tried and there was something that felt like there was something on the line or something like that they wanted to live up to in that game, and it was the new format, and that actually brought something interesting. But then even that faded out over the next few years. Now this new format, like you're saying, I understand the appeal of bringing in the rising stars just to motivate them, but like you said, once they're out of that first game, then the final, like, what is there after that? There's nothing for them to really care about after that. But really the only thing that ever incentivizes these guys is money, and so you're gonna have to put some crazy money prize on the line. Or I saw on First Take they were suggesting potentially like I think the Rising Stars used to be like this, or maybe it still is, I don't know, but it should be like a US versus international, or Team World versus Team USA type setup. Obviously for that you'd have to have enough international all-stars to make two separate teams, but I think something like that could get like some sort of pride on the line that actually gets people to compete. Or even East versus, first of all, just over everything else, I liked East versus West. I don't even remember why we got rid of it. East versus West felt good, and doing East versus West and then having it like the MLB game where it's like the winner, the All-Star game gets home court in the finals instead of just record. I like that, and I think that actually gives you something to play for, especially if the All-Stars are mainly coming from winning teams. They're going to be like, okay, this actually really matters. So you don't have to have the best record in the whole league. You just have to have the best record in your conference to the conference finals, and then winner of the All-Star game gets that. I think that actually, other than money and maybe like national pride, that's the only thing that can get these guys to compete.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. Honestly, man, it's kind of hard to even think about incentives. Like, there was even a part of me at first, I was like, what if we like, it's not exactly the same as the whole Team World, Team USA thing, but like, since obviously like and this isn't me co-signing this idea, I'm just kind of like running you through my thought process. At first I was like, what if the MVP of the game gets somehow like entered into the selection pool for Team USA for the next Olympics? But even then it's like, what are we doing? Because now we're just encouraging an ISO fest where it's just like, you know, Curry one-on-one with his defender, you know, or Jaylen Brown, or, you know, like Tatum. I don't know. I guess should think more of like players who maybe didn't get as much of a shot in this year's Olympics. But, you know, it's kind of hard to even think about anything. Obviously money will always be a possibility to entice the players, but it's just tough. It's just like there's no real way for us to really think like, okay, how can we get them to care? Because that's what this comes down to. Like, there's a lack of care. How do you get people who don't care to care?
I got the answer, man. Charity. Just make it all based around charity.
They tried that too.
They've done that before, like, man.
This is like such an insane discussion to me, though. Like, the fact that professional players need incentive for a weekend that I imagine millions of kids across the country like get excited for, look forward to watching, that sort of thing. Like, that alone, theoretically, in my mind, should be the reward. Like, you're already a pro player. You're already making your bag. You're living the dream you had as a kid. Like, you use this one weekend to help like plant that seed, you know, in the minds of many. You know, it doesn't need to be about the money. I mean, clearly they don't have enough money with what we were talking about before about the quote unquote celebrities they had, but that's just, it's a sad discussion. Incentive for something like this, I don't know, gets me disappointed.
Fair point. Very fair point. I don't know how this is going to be fixed, to be honest. Like, it's sad. Like, the game I once loved has just devolved crazy. So you know, I think for as many ideas we try to throw to the wall and see what sticks, like there really is just we kind of have our hands tied because it's very clear that the fans want a change, right? It's very clear, and it's been clear for years. But you know, we'll see what ends up happening. I did see KD was saying that like the fans are complaining too much. I think he's entitled to his opinion. There were players who did play hard, like Wemby. I do want to give him his flowers. I'm not even the biggest Wemby fan in terms of just love his game, just, you know, have thoughts about him as a player. But he really performed well, and that this being his first All-Star game, I was happy to see a new star kind of putting in the effort, because he's obviously going to be carrying the mantle hopefully over the next several years. So we'll see where that leads us. But you know, I'm with you, Dre. I'm tired of seeing the half-court threes. Tired of seeing the ISO. Kyrie at one point did like an off the backboard dunk, which I'm like, what are we like? No disrespect to Kyrie, but it's like you don't even dunk. Like, this is just you trying to get your moment, and like, I guess be my guest if there's no defense being played. But listen, and Kyrie himself was also playing defense, so I do want to mention that as well. I don't want to make it seem like this is his fault, but it's frustrating. It's sad. But anyways, if any listeners have any thoughts, definitely let us know. You know, I think we all want change, so definitely let us know what you think. Cool. Well, the next thing I wanted to get into, the reason why I wanted to mention this or just discuss it a little bit. When I was growing up, one of the coolest things that I looked forward to was just seeing like all the all-star signature sneakers. So I remember like LeBron had his all-star sneaker, Kobe had an all-star sneaker, KD had an all-star sneaker. So it was really cool. I always looked forward to, you know, turning on the TV and seeing what they had on their feet, what the shoe looked like. Sometimes it would come out, I think in most cases it would come out that Friday or that Saturday maybe, right? So sometimes I'd even go to my local Foot Locker and get a glimpse of what the shoe looked like. Which just points to, man, we've lost so many like exciting points. I'm not sure how many people can relate to that story, or like I guess that like memory, but that's something I remember looking forward to. And the fact that it's not really there either, like sneakers I think are a big part of the game, and the fact that, you know, the signature releases just aren't as hype as they used to be. I get the market's like down right now, but I think there should be more noise being made on these sneakers, on these signature athletes, especially when there's a lot of money that's involved in these contracts. But you know, I'm not really too sure what that's all about. But the big sneaker that I did feel like had some hype this weekend was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's new signature sneaker under Converse. So Shai is the biggest athlete right now signed to Converse. Couldn't name you any other basketball players right now that are signed to the brand, but he did come out with his first signature sneaker. It has this kind of like wheat, it's like this wheat colorway. If you ask Kevin Hart, he was calling them the mustards. But very interesting sneaker. Has like a zipper on the tongue. Reminds me of I think Gary Payton had I think it was called like the I'm blanking on the name right now, but he did have this like zip up sneaker back in the day. Also reminds me a little bit of James Harden's sneaker because of it, like its sock like fit. Doesn't have laces. James Harden right now, the volume 7, the volume 8, and the volume 9, so his last 3 signature sneakers have had that same feel to it. They've had like a little bit of a sock within the shoe. So very interesting sneaker. I think the traction looked great. So performance wise, looks like it fits. Looks like it'll do its job.
I would hope so.
Yeah, right. No, literally. Do y'all have any thoughts on the signature sneaker?
Yeah, my first reaction was not that great personally, but then I looked up more pictures of like Shai wearing them, and he tends to wear them with them like unzipped, and so laces are actually under the zipper, and I feel like the laces popping out with the zipper open is just a much better look. And I think also the colorway maybe is part of why I'm struggling to see this, but I do like the kind of foam padding or whatever 3D effect it has going on, kind of the medial side. It kind of reminds me of foams, which is cool. And it uses, I think, Zoom tech on the midsole, so it uses that Nike Zoom tech, so good for comfort, good for that performance. I think it's a solid, after looking at it more, I think it's a solid shoe that is going to depend a lot on the colorways that drop. And I can imagine if they keep this kind of design style going forward with, like, I imagine the Shai 2, 3, 4, whatever, I think there could be some cool pairs. But I will also say it kind of looks a bit like a ripoff of Anthony Edwards shoes with Adidas, which, even though they're not the exact same, the shape of it reminds me of that. That more modern, sleek, which I would say kind of goes back to even like Yeezy designs in a way.
Okay, good point. I definitely agree with you on the just like the curiosity of what the other colorways are gonna look like. Because I'll be honest, man, I saw this and I was not a fan of the color. Like, I understand that we live in a world now where players don't have to wear sneakers that match their team uniform. So SGA plays for the Thunder. In previous years, prior to this rule change, this sneaker would have had to have been blue and orange as the first line, you know, blue and orange or white, some kind of variation. But obviously that's not the case in with this sneaker. And yeah, man, I think it looks cool, looks good in the photos, but I don't know. I think it'll take some time to grow on me. I think similar to you, the first time I saw it, I was a little bit thrown off, but I have also seen him wear it, and I think it's also very on brand with his style. You know, Y2K is kind of in right now, so this is kind of like a nod to like the early 2000s. And, you know, when you have some pants draping over it, I think, you know, like now I'm talking about it like as a casual sneaker, and SGA being kind of like the fashion person that he is. Many people consider him to be the best dressed in the league. Like, I can see the vision. It's something that you can wear on and off the court. But the colorway did throw me off.
Sure. I will say with his fits, it definitely looks good. Like, lifestyle wise, I really like it. Lifestyle wise, like if they even just shifted the tone a little bit and just made it like an all cream or a variation of cream that's not yellow, I'd mess with it. I'm really curious what that price point though is going to be, if this is going to be more entry level or if it's going to be up there. I would hope something like this would be around, like, I'm going to guess the 130 mark, max 140. I can't see it going more than that. But I think there is potential with the silhouette.
For sure. It's Converse, so it's not like they have the resume that Nike has as of late. I say as of late. Converse hasn't been popping in the basketball world. It's like the pre-Jordan era. So this is, I think, a big win for them. So I also don't expect the price tag to be too crazy on it. I'm happy to see a player of SGA's caliber get a signature sneaker with a shoe brand that's not Nike, that's not Adidas. And, you know, I think this, you know, the kids will go crazy for him. But yeah, definitely got to see more colorways. Dre, do you have any reactions?
Yeah, usually when I see any of these players go out and sign with like a more rogue kind of shoe company, not that Converse is rogue in general, but at least for like a basketball signature shoe, I assume they just dropped a crazy bag. which is fair enough. Shai, get your bag. You obviously been balling, and I think this is about time that you get your signature shoe. And I think Shai is also, like you said, in terms of like the youth, he's been big in like social media and like the aura farming type thing, like the memes about that.
Oh my god.
That's like all the content I see about. I'm not even on TikTok like that, but like even on Instagram Reels, I'll see like, oh, Shai's just aura farming, or like Giannis over the weekend was like, Shai, just give me a handshake. Like I just need a bit of your aura, man. Like stuff like that.
On IG, this dude said your aura is oozing.
Like crazy.
That's wild.
So I think just off of that, he's gonna have some motion with the shoe. I think that honestly, the thing I like the most about the shoe, and I don't know if this has always been his logo or this is something new they're debuting for the shoe, but the logo on the tongue, I actually really like that logo.
Nice. Logo's really nice.
I don't exactly see SGA in it or anything, but maybe you could reach and find it, but I just like the aesthetically, it looks really nice, that logo. So, and I think also for a naming convention, having it as 001, like, it's interesting because like I doubt there's gonna be 100 models of this, but or at least any triple digit models, but just like aesthetically, that also looks really nice. So I think they did some things that I'm a fan of. The shoe itself, not doing too much for me. I don't dislike it. Like you guys said, I think lifestyle wise, I think it actually works a little better. But this colorway ain't it for me. I can see why. I can see why Kevin Hart was calling it the mustard. It's like a little Dijon mustard, bro. This is This is not a
little moldy mustard. I don't know.
Yeah, this one's not the one to debut with, in my opinion. But I think once they drop some more, I think there's some potential for the shoe to really make some waves. But yeah, I think it'll just be time will tell to see what they come out with.
It'll be really sick too if they drop variations with like materials, because right now it looks kind of all synthetic. I mean, it is a performance shoe, but if they drop like a lifestyle version where part of it's like leather and then I don't know the other materials you could use, but if they have some mix-ups like that, so that over time maybe it wears better, wears different as a lifestyle shoe, that'd be cool.
For sure. Yeah, I guess we'll see what colorways come out, man. We'll see how this does, but I'm pulling for this shoe, man. I think it's about time we get a bit of a mix-up. I look at the current landscape of basketball sneakers, and it's Nike has been on top. The Kobe's have been popping the past few years. The Sabrinas, good to see a WNBA player have a shoe that makes waves beyond just their respective league. Like there's lots of NBA players who are wearing the Sabrinas. The LeBrons obviously will never go away. But it's good to see somebody under another line make some noise. So definitely hoping to see what's in store and potential new silhouettes in later years. So yeah, we'll see. Cool, man. All right, man. So shifting gears a little bit. Alexi, do you want to introduce the last point?
Suppose so, man. This weekend in the Premier League, we had a big game for relegation battle between Man United and Tottenham. Tottenham ended up winning that game 1-0, leaving me unsurprised and continuing to be disappointed. I mean, what can you say as a Man United fan? This week we got the news of massive injuries to our team. Kobe Mainu, Ahmad, blanking on the third, but it don't even matter, man. We're screwed. We got no players. Our first team is cooked. Amarim is having to bring up like 8 academy players to fill the bench. It is just, this is the worst possible scenario for Man United. It can only get worse if we get relegated, which I legitimately see as being a threat in the coming weeks. And it's not even to say their performance against Spurs was as horrible as other performances, but the amount of missed opportunities. For example, with Garnacho, I love Garnacho. I think he's a great player, but this game he needed to finish his dinner and he just could not do it. he needed to pass to oh god, I gotta look up his name. Yeah, he needed to pass to Patrick Dorgu on the left, and he didn't do that till like the very end of the game, like for the overlaps. So that was very triggering to watch. And God, Hoyland, Xerxes still are mega expensive signing strikers who just can't score. Xerxes had a good attempt with the header, but just barely could hit it towards the goal. And it's depressing to think about this team, man. It really is. So, Dre, I don't know if you have any similar thoughts. I imagine you do.
I guess, well, one, it's hilarious to hear the defeat in your voice, but I guess if I'd say your one saving grace is that the 3 teams that came up from the championship are so bad that you actually like should not in any case go down. Like the fact that those teams are that much worse.
I'm knocking on wood, bro. I'm knocking on wood.
Terrible too. But if you guys finish below 16th, then there's some serious issues. I mean, it's already serious issues, but like those 4 teams at the bottom are so bad that you have no business even being in that conversation. But yeah, honestly, this is a little relegation scrap, and Spurs have gone through, they still are, but like have been injured this season terribly. And the fact that you guys are now going through a crazy period, obviously you guys had sent out Rashford and Anthony, like, and your squad.
Anthony's becoming the world's best player as we speak.
Crazy, but not completely wrong. And like the fact that Spurs are now going 1 point ahead of you, and they've been this injured the entire season, really speaks to like the quality of Man U, because this, like, yeah, that's actually like really embarrassing. But honestly, I could argue that this is best case scenario. I think, well, best case scenario is crazy, but it's not worst case scenario, because I think giving these academy players this chance is actually better off than these players who clearly don't fit Emery's system. I think honestly, if you can bring through some players, maybe they're still young, they're moldable, maybe get them into the system and find roles for them. Not saying they're going to be world beaters and you're going to climb the table, but maybe there's some players that end up standing out. You're like, okay, maybe over the summer, we don't need to go spend 50 million on someone for this position. Like, you have someone who can do a job there and things like that. Hopefully, I think that's at this point the most you can take away from this season. But yeah, in terms of like finishing, like your place you're going to finish in, I think we all knocked it out of that park, but they're not finishing in the top half.
They are not. They are not, most definitely. I do agree. I think this season at this point I have to view as a learning opportunity for the youth. And really, I really sincerely hope that they're able to compete for these positions. Dallo, I'm talking to you. It's just like some of these players who start these games every week, they have their ups and downs, but it's the fact that they have no competition and that they have to be the player that starts, which scares me. Especially with, I mean, there was a period where Garnacho was starting and he was just doing nothing. And he is much better as a sub that comes on. I hate to say it, but like a super sub, or like if someone's injured, I don't know. But having him start every game, I think worsened his performance. And I could see that very well being the case for other players. I think balancing the team of, you know, already people have been playing as much as they have with these academy kids who are getting their first games in the Prem. It might be a hard watch for a bit, but I hope they can adapt quickly. And especially I hope they can fit Amorim's system, because I feel bad for this dude, forced to leave his team to join Man U. No money to buy players. We only got one player. Like, it's a tough scenario.
Yeah, he is in the perfect situation to be scapegoated. Like, they are very ready to scapegoat this guy who really is stuck between. Obviously, at the end of the day, he did choose to make the step up, but like, you would hope any manager with any aspirations would make this step up. But like in the circumstances within it happened, it's actually kind of crazy. Like the way they set this guy up. And
I will say the fan base has been good from what I've seen in that they're not going after him, because I legitimately don't think this is a manager issue. I see what he's going for, and I see the potential with it, and I like it. And if it means I have to suffer for a bit because our players are cheeks, so be it. If that means we're going to get better players who fit this system, who care about, winning for this team. I mean, even Dallo, I got my issues with him, but he said the other week, like, with this manager, I feel like we can win the Prem in a few years. Player coming out and saying that just a couple months into his tenure, for me, that's a good sign. So there are little positives, but I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah, fair. And I think too, like, you have to be realistic to a certain extent that the team has technically on paper gotten worse since he came in. But he told you from the jump, we're going to suffer. And
he's been honest. He's been honest the whole time. And he's not sugarcoating.
And it's tough because I think people are now wanting him to do what Ten Hag did, which is, okay, my system's not working. I'm going to go back to this system, like the standard system, and in 2 years get sacked because you're not getting results. That's not what they brought you in for. They brought you in for the specific system that you play. And if you give up now, then you're just basically signing your own sack notice and for like next season. So I think he has to stick it out, whether or not, like, if they somehow sack him at the end of the season, that is actually gross negligence. Like, you have to actually have to like have some kind of riot on your head. Not trying to incite riot, for legal reasons, but like you have to have something on your hands to like make some kind of change, because that would be diabolical to sack this guy this season with the injuries, with the transfer window, with the system, everything that's gone on, even in this game too. I don't
think he'll be sacked though.
There's no way. There's no way.
Because even the fact that they're letting Rashford go to another Prem team, to me shows that the board, the ownership, they're fully behind this dude, and I'm happy to see that. They're behind him, maybe emotionally. Monetarily, they need to get behind him a little more. Let's
crazy part.
Sign some players for this system. I can't believe we only got Dorgu
It's
as
criminal.
a starter.
It's criminal. Because I think even this game is funny because this is like we said, the relegation scrap between two teams that were going in for Matthias Tell. This is the Tell Derby, and Man U weren't willing to pay the $5 million to get him, and Spurs were. And look at the difference.
And he was cooking. He was cooking.
Obviously didn't score, but like dude was getting chances. He looked energetic.
So many legs.
Like that's exactly what Man U's attack needs. And just like, if you're not willing to spend $5 million on a loan fee for this guy, that shows like you can't expect to be any better than you are. So
I want to backtrack a bit and give a little bit of credit to Xerxes this game. He had a tough start, and then we all know that, being booed out after one of his first few games. And as a striker, I still want to see more from him. But his ball control and ability to retain that and move it up is so much better than Højlund's. At least in this game, it was very clear. He had some good dribbles, some good moves where he was able to keep it and keep the ball moving upward. And from this team and the state of this team, I just got to say I appreciate that.
Which is funny because like him and Højlund had the exact opposite issues, and both of them, like, they really need that other side of the game because Højlund's super athletic, but the dude has no touch, bro. This dude has
no touch.
And Xerxes has like a beautiful touch, but the dude's playing like he's playing in the Match for Hope. Like, this is crazy. The dude has no athleticism. Like, it's actually crazy. And there's a certain level of athleticism that you need to play in the Premier League. Like, there's some players who like are so gifted technically that they can maybe get away with it, but like he's not on that level. So there's only so much you can really do with these two. And I think someone like Tell, obviously, or like some. Hopefully, they have someone there in mind for the summer to bring in, could really make a difference. Because right now, it's not looking good, Brev.
I'm telling you, get Gyökeres in here, and that's it. That because I see him as a top striker, but also as someone who's good enough to where between Højlund and Xerxes, they're really gonna have to duke it out. Because right now they don't have competition for where they're playing, really.
True. Yeah. And I guess they're gonna have to duke it out for being the backup, and one of them's gonna go because, yeah, Gyökeres comes in, is lights out. For those guys, it's actually lights out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's tough. Even someone like Arsenal. I don't know if you saw their most recent game. I caught like highlights, but they have their center mid, Mikel Merino, coming in and playing striker, but then all like their injury issues, and he's scoring a brace. Like, it's crazy, bro. Like,
I'm not mad at that. We did that with Manu, 2 weeks ago or something, and it worked pretty decently for one game. The next game, but I'm not opposed to messing with the system like that and having that flexibility in there. I see that as a positive, especially if players like are executing their chances.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I respect that tactical flexibility from Arteta. Like, that's actually crazy that he's able to maneuver his team and pull that off. And to the end of the day, that only works because you have the personnel. And
yeah,
I don't know if I don't know if Man U, maybe now that Man U's injured, like, I don't know, what do you do? Like Casemiro?
Casemiro gets a yellow every like third touch. It's just,
yeah, it's not looking good, bro. I don't know if you want to share in the misery, Eric. I mean, not misery for me, obviously. I'm loving it, but misery that Alexi has here.
That's wild. I'm not gonna lie, man. I mean, I know y'all are currently talking about like the state of the team, but when I did tune in to part of the match, and to be honest, man, I actually thought I thought they were gonna pull it out, man. There was that early shot by, what is it, Dalot?
Yeah.
Delo? What did he say?
Delo. Just Delo.
Crucified by the fan base, man.
Portuguese.
Coming back to it, man. So I do apologize, but there was that, like, what? It was like a goal line save, right? And I don't know. Like Alexi said, they did have lots of opportunities to score. So I really was.
They did, and they had a fire for. I will give them credit. 2/3 of the match where I thought they'd at least tie it up, but it came down to not executing on those early chances, and that Delo one. I mean, that he should have had a better shot there. I thought in that situation, it is a narrow angle, but if you put just a bit of power behind it and smash it, that might come off the keeper's hands and go in at that angle. And I would rely on that rather than just kicking it straight to him. But anyways.
Sure. Yeah. As far as state of the team, man, I think I've made it clear, like, when a team that I support is not doing well, I just don't really tune into them. So, you know, that's just been the nature for Man United over the past few years. So I've just been out of the loop. But, you know, as someone who was kind of coming in,
call that a bandwagon.
Nah, it's more like I'm saving my time, man. I ain't trying. Why stay for the misery? You know?
Because here's the way I think of it and how I cope. I'm like, look, we're doing bad now, but think of the feeling of immense happiness if we get relegated, we get back into the Prem, we win the Prem. And I was there for that the whole journey. That feeling would be crazy. So that's how I cope.
That is a huge banking, man. And I'm sure they will. I mean, it's Man United, you know. Like, I'm sure that there will be a day where they step out of this little phase that they're in right now, and I'm sure they'll come out on top. But just as far as like really tuning in to how the season's going. You know, if that makes me a bandwagon, so be it. It's just, I don't know. It's just doesn't entice me to watch a match if I feel like, you know, there's no significance to the outcome. And I don't know. It's also more so to just like preserve my like peace, because you know I've given my Knicks the same treatment, my New York Yankees. It's happened. Every team I support has experienced it. Just so happens that right now the Knicks are on a very solid run. But as far as Man United, man, can't say I've been as loyal.
Yeah, I mean, I would say just because it is my primary team and sport that I follow, the way I tune into these games now, these Prem games at least, is with the idea of seeing, you know, the improvement in the players, the change and the slight change in tactics, how things adjust, and finding the good things in that, and being able to, I guess, witness that progress and hopefully see it grow and continue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fair. And we'll see how that goes for the rest of the season. Honestly, rest of the season, like we said, more of a see what we can learn from these youth players and who really is going to be here in the next season, and see how it goes over the summer, really. And I hope you guys have a big summer, because if not, oh boy. But I think even just having a preseason just to work on some stuff could be massive. So
the preseason will be massive, but no, we need signings.
Yeah.
Like, bruh, we need a third owner to get in here or something. Like,
oh my god, yeah,
should have went with that Sheik Jassim dude, bruh. I don't know why we went with this broke ass Jim Ratcliffe, man. Came in being like, we'll get more loans. I don't know, like, he's like, I got 10% of the money. So
crazy.
dumb, bro. So dumb.
Yeah.
You got a dude who's about to pay all cash, but you're like, nah, we'll take the 10%. Crazy.
It's crazy because, like, everyone likes to say, like, oil money, Man City. But, like, at the end of the day, they got the championships. Like, they don't care.
Well, all right, that is the thing I will say. As a fan, I would love that Sheik dude to come in here and give us that money. As a fan of the sport and the integrity of the sport, if we're at the point, this is kind of a shift in topic, if we're at the point where what Man City has done is okay, once that verdict comes out and we learn about those charges, if they determine that's fine, then I'd be, so be it. If that's how the sport's gonna go, it's sad, but get that Sheik up in here. If the charges stand, they get relegated, they get punished, whatever, and the league says, no, we will not tolerate a club, you know, just shooting up in value in this artificial way. I think that's better for the sport. I think that's better for all the teams, and it puts more accountability on how the teams conduct themselves and the errors they make, and that's what Man U's experiencing right now. And it would be a cop-out for someone to just come in here with all that money and make it all go away, and it would contribute to the larger issue of sports washing, which a lot of those oil money countries, the reason they're doing this. So I think I hope we see less of this. As a fan, I want to see investment, but I want to see it come from the right people with the right resources. I don't want it to be a dude who's going to buy a 20% stake and have sports ownership only and not even have all the money necessary to run things and need to lay people off at the club and get rid of facilities or whatever, like what's going on at Man U right now. So, yeah.
Yeah. Good. No, I love it.
I love this game.
Any final thoughts or Not enough wallowing in misery for now.
Nah, that's it from me.
Yeah, that's it on my part.
All right, well, that was a great episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you made it this far, a lot of interesting topics, especially the All-Star game. I'm really curious what any of you guys think about how to improve it, or is it just cooked? Honestly, at this point, it might just be GG's. But like I said last week, like I'll say next week, we're keeping it going. We're dropping videos multiple times a week. Tap in, engage, get excited about these topics like we are, and we'll be back same time next week, hopefully, with another round of topics. But yeah, thanks for tuning in.
100%. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. See y'all next week.